We might call this a tale of two kings. Mighty King David, chosen by God, beloved and respected by his people for his wisdom, his military might, for his love of God. But what the hey? Did David suffer a concussive brain injury in battle? Did a tempting Satan crawl up to David's throne? While it might be safe to assume that David was overcome by lust at the sight of the beautiful Bathsheba and that all of his subsequent actions were driven by hormones, let us be clear. David's decisions were conscious and driven by power. In the spring of the year, when kings go out to battle, David chose to send everyone away and stay at home. Late one afternoon, he chose to take a stroll on his rooftop. Out of all the surrounding rooftops, his gaze just happened to light upon the one supporting the beautiful Bathsheba. I often wonder how many rooftop strolls he took until he identified the rooftop. He certainly was not looking for the haze of ongoing warfare. He chose to send someone to inquire about this specific woman, who must have been known to him already through his close relationship with his respected friend and comrade in arms, Uriah. He commanded that she be sent to him. This woman, who until this point had no clue that she had been observed and would, of course, obey orders from the king. David took her, laid with her, and she became pregnant. I do not hesitate to label this taking as rape, consummation through the expression of power. Then David attempted to conceal his iniquity by compromising her husband Uriah's position as a consecrated, sanctified man of war. When the unknowing Uriah failed to step into David's traps, David chose to set in motion the plot to bring about Uriah's death, nothing short of manslaughter. David knew exactly what he was doing, no dithering, no pause for reflection, no fear of consequences, no remorse. Fast forward to the spring of another year. In the spring of this particular year, all able, devout Jews proceeded to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of the Passover in the temple. Jesus, believed to be the Messiah, King of the Jews, was followed by a crowd of the curious. He went up to the mountain and sat down there with his disciples, and observing a large crowd coming toward him, set his disciples a test. How are we to care for these hungry people? Jesus could have chosen to amaze the crowd with a solo act of miraculous bravado. Instead, he chose to involve his disciples in forming a solution to the problem of feeding this crowd. It came down to 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes, an unheralded miracle and a public sign of God-given power engaged for the good of the people. Jesus knew exactly what he was doing. He did not demonstrate kingly temporal power, using crowd reaction to a wondrous event as a means to sway opinions or for personal gain, but to share the knowledge that all gifts come from a loving God. On the one hand, we have the example of King David the selfish, who invested his God-given power to satisfy his own needs, his own desires. He betrayed his vows, sacrificed a friend, lost his way with his people, and began a descent onto a darker path. On the other hand, we have the example of King Jesus the generous, who invested his God-given power to meet the needs of the broader community. He demonstrated care beyond his personal needs and desires, and in doing so, continued along his dedicated path to the cross. I cannot imagine two more appropriate readings for this politicized time in our lives. The sermon is not intended to highlight any particular politician or political party, nor do I state a personal position on either. However, when news only reports speculation and mayhem, when people are motivated to express their opinions with angry words, fist-shaking, and outright violence, when the news media perpetuates myth, distorts facts, and preys upon emotions, it can be difficult to remain centered. Consider the examples of these two kings, King David and Jesus, the King who was only the King of heaven. Ask yourselves, whom do I trust? Whom do I serve? How do I show my trust? How do I serve? Politics and politicians are a fact of life. Pondering political outcomes can be unnerving, unsettling, and sometimes just downright scary. I sincerely hope that we exercise our hard-won civic responsibilities, that we do our best to act in such a way as to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessing of liberty. However, exercising our civic responsibilities does not equate with engaging our God-given gifts of love, forgiveness, and redemption. Gifts endowed upon us from the God who created us in his image and who then gave us his only begotten Son to live and die for us out of love. We understand that life will never be a sweet row across a calm pond on a perpetually perfect Michigan summer sunny day. When we are overcome by darkness, when fear and indecision rule our lives, when we feel abandoned, forgotten, and alone, isolated from those around us, trapped by physical, financial, emotional disability, I encourage you to lift your eyes to that King Jesus, walking upon the stormy sea, coming near to you, holding out his hands ready for your grasp. I encourage you to turn to him and with all of your being hear him say, "It is I, do not be afraid." Amen.